Today we're going to be predicting the match card for WWE Crown Jewel 2024, and after everything that just happened at Bad Blood this past weekend, there are a hell of a lot of directions that WWE could take with this PLE, so let's try and figure out where we think that they could go with this one. Before we get into the card predictions though, I do want to let you know everything that we have to offer. We are Vacant Wrestling. We have a weekly podcast that drops every Monday in audio formats everywhere you find your podcasts and in video format right here on YouTube. So if you're into a couple of nerds talking about wrestling every week, go down below, hit that subscribe button. We'd really appreciate it, and hit that bell icon. Make sure you're notified whenever we post another video. We'd also really appreciate it if you'd like and comment on this video and our other videos as well. We'd really appreciate it, and it's the best way that we can all grow this community. Without further ado, let's jump into the card predictions. First, I just want to talk a little bit about the concept of the Crown Jewel Championship and the first two matches that they've already announced for the show. Now, they announced these two matches during Bad Blood itself, so there was really no way for me to get this video out before they announced any matches. And honestly, as cool as it is that they're trying to establish this new yearly tradition, it's clear to me that they wouldn't have done that had this not been part of the Saudi Arabia deal. Obviously, they're making a lot of money from this deal. Is it the best deal from an ethics perspective? Not at all. But listen, it's a lot of money. They see the value in it, and they got to keep providing what Saudi Arabia wants for it if they're going to keep shelling out the money. And honestly, the biggest problem with all of this is that it's pitting their two world champions for the men and the women against each other, where one of them's going to look strong and the other one's not going to look strong at all and look pretty weak. The last time we saw any of this champion versus champion brand warfare type of thing was back at Survivor Series a few years ago. The last iteration had Roman Reigns as Universal Champion facing Big E as WWE Champion. Roman was just on another level. There was no question he was going to beat Big E, and at the end of the day, it just did nothing but make Big E look like a B-tier champion. And that's not what we want for Gunther or Cody Rhodes. And the same goes for Nia Jax and Liv Morgan as well. As someone who used to really appreciate the brand warfare aspect of Survivor Series, the way it set up all these dream matches that we never would have seen unless it was at Survivor Series during this brand warfare stuff, I really am not a fan of it now. Wins and losses in WWE matter more than ever, and the storylines really affect that. Everything counts in all of these storylines. So let's start with the men's Crown Jewel Championship match. That's going to be the WWE Champion, Cody Rhodes, against the World Heavyweight Champion, Gunther. And like I previously said, they're kind of booked into a corner here. Both of these guys need to win this match to prove that they are strong champions, but at the end of the day, one of them's got to lose. Triple H said himself there has to be a winner, and if they lose, it's automatically going to make them feel like a B-tier champion in comparison. So how do they do that without creating this B-tier champion feeling when somebody loses? The answer is shenanigans. And it's not quite the shenanigans you might think. You might be thinking that The Rock might interfere and cost Cody the matchup, but I actually think it's the other way around. Because I think that Goldberg is actually going to come out and screw Gunther out of this match against Cody. Obviously, during the segment where Triple H announced these matches, we saw Gunther calling out Goldberg and Goldberg jumping the barricade. He was about to get in the ring, security broke it up, and then Gunther got attacked by Sami Zayn. Segment ends with Triple H holding up Goldberg's hand in the ring. Now, obviously, this was meant to build something. If they weren't going to do anything with it, then why would they have had this happen on Bad Blood? It's clear to me that they have a plan for this, and with rumblings of Goldberg wanting a retirement match, who better to retire Goldberg than Gunther? Gunther has been on an absolute roll as of late. He deserves nothing more than to be able to put away the legend that Goldberg is. And that way there, Cody Rhodes can get the win. A little cheeky, but he can walk away with the win. And in my opinion, I think it's more likely that Goldberg pops up in Saudi Arabia than The Rock. Now, for the Women's Crown Jewel Championship match, I'm actually more excited about this one than the men's match. And let me tell you why. We have the WWE Women's Champion, Nia Jax, going up against the Women's World Champion, Liv Morgan. And what's super interesting about this is that it's heel versus heel, but they're two completely different heels. While Nia Jax is this big monster heel that can't be beaten and can't be held down and doesn't back down from a fight, Liv Morgan is the exact opposite. She's small, she's scrappy, she runs away from fights, she gets help when she can from Dom Dom, from now Raquel Rodriguez, if you saw Bad Blood. Like, there are so many ways that this could go and so many ways that this could be really, really special. But again, the problem is neither of these ladies really can suffer a loss here. But what I'm going to do here is I'm going to use simple logic. With Cody Rhodes being the winner against Gunther, with SmackDown winning that match, I think Raw wins this match. So I think Liv Morgan might come up with the win against Nia Jax. There's been this story going on SmackDown with Tiffany Stratton wanting to cash in on Nia Jax, but Nia keeps catching Tiffany at the last second when she's about to cash in, and so it foils the cash-in attempt. But what I think happens is Tiffany's going to convince Nia to let her be out at ringside for this match, but with the intention of cashing in on Liv Morgan, so both she and Nia can be women's champions for Raw and SmackDown respectively. I think bringing Raquel into the fold for Liv was perfect timing for this feud with Nia, because I could easily see Nia and Raquel going face to face as these two big monsters, and and Liv just being off to the side, being protected by Raquel. It also protects Liv from being cashed in on by Tiffany Stratton. So I think at some point there's going to be some hubbub where like Tiffany tries to cash in, Nia sees it, tries to stop her, is like, no, don't do it right now. Liv gets the win over Nia. And then I think Tiffany Stratton successfully cashes in on Nia Jax. I think if I had to choose between the two, I think Liv might need the win a little bit more. I think Liv hasn't been super convincing as champion, and I know that's probably part of the character, but I think she's really worked hard, and she deserves this win. She deserves a longer title reign. Give her this win over Nia. Nia has the out because she's too busy focused on Tiffany. You know, will Tiffany cash in on me, whatever. And in the end, she does. The next matchup on my card predictions, the first original prediction that I have for this, is Seth Rollins versus Bronson Reed. Seth Rollins and Bronson Reed makes perfect sense. They seem to have been setting up this feud between the two. Bronson put Seth on the shelf for a while. Seth recently came back and came after Bronson. So it's clear to me that that's the direction they want to go in. And while I think it would be great for Bronson to get the win over Seth, I just don't see it happening, especially in Seth's first match back since the world title match against Damian at Money in the Bank. Plus, in my long-term booking inside my own head, I see Seth Rollins in the mix for the world title by WrestleMania time against CM Punk. Like, I just can't not see that at this point. So the way he gets there is he starts with a win over Bronson Reed, and he works his way back up the card, back to the world title picture by probably WrestleMania season Royal Rumble-ish time there. However, that's not to say that Bronson Reed will not have a star-making performance here. It's clear that he has a lot of forward momentum. They see a lot in him. We as fans see a lot in him as well. So I think he needs to show out. He needs to be at Seth Rollins' level. He needs to really give Seth Rollins a challenge. I don't want Rollins to win this comfortably. The one thing I do ask, though, is that this match is an absolute Bronson Reed car crash. Like, I want this to be crazy. I know that's not really Seth's style, but I would really enjoy seeing that personally. Next up, one more match on the Raw side of things. I'm going to go with an easy one. Rhea Ripley versus Raquel Rodriguez. Now, having Rhea versus Raquel earlier in the show before Liv Morgan versus Nia Jax would be a great idea in my opinion, because that way it kind of rules them out from interfering in this match, and I hope that they wouldn't. Now, having Rhea Ripley and Raquel Rodriguez to me makes perfect sense. Rhea is a major draw. I'm sure that the people of Saudi Arabia would want Rhea Ripley on their show, and I think that's a logical next step. Obviously, Liv's going to be tied up with Nia. We clearly don't want to run back another chapter of Liv versus Rhea. And with the entrance of Raquel Rodriguez into this whole story, it allows for Rhea to have this step before getting back to Liv and going for that championship once again. Plus, I just think it would be a banger match. And at the end of the day, it's clear to me that Rhea Ripley would win this match, with Raquel just being the number 2, the Diesel to Liv's Shawn Michaels. I think it makes sense for her to eat the loss there, and I'm sure she can rack up some wins on Raw between now and Crown Jewel. So it's not like she would just be coming in and losing right away. And what could be interesting is the prospect of Dominic Mysterio getting involved in this match, helping Raquel win, because it seems clear they're trying to build this stable of sorts between Liv, Dom, and Raquel. And whether or not they're associated with Judgment Day is a different story, but at the very least, the three of them are intertwined in some kind of association. Now, the one thing that I think is missing from Crown Jewel is a stipulation match, and I think that I have the perfect one. I think at Crown Jewel, we're going to finally get it. We're going to get the one-on-one match between Roman Reigns and Solo Sikoa, the OTC, the OG Tribal Chief, against the current and new Tribal Chief. And the stipulation, you might ask? Tribal Combat, with the winner receiving the Ulafala. And I think this is the time that Roman Reigns finally beats Solo Sikoa one-on-one and gets his Ulafala earned back. And listen, it could very easily be a tag match once again with Roman and Jimmy against Solo and Jacob, but I don't think it really benefits anything to run back another tag team match just swapping out Cody for Jimmy. I think it adds nothing to the feud. I think it really doesn't progress much. I think the way this progresses is Roman gets Solo one-on-one and finally gets that Ulafala back. And with it being Tribal Combat, this could be a perfect way to also set up War Games, potentially. You could have a ton of interferences. You can have Cody. You can have Jimmy and Jay, potentially. You could have Sammy, because it's going to be a PLE. It's a dual-branded show. And also, you can have the full new bloodline as well. The Tongans. You can have Jacob Fatu. Hell, if you want to throw in The Rock, you could throw in The Rock, but I don't think it's necessary. I think just having like the OG and the new, I think that's where we finally get the beginning of the bloodline civil war inside War Games, with the OG bloodline against the new bloodline. And at first, I really thought this was all wishful thinking with the War Games match. I thought it was going to be the new bloodline versus Cody, Roman, KO, and Randy, but then Kevin Owens turned heel after Bad Blood went off the air, and Jimmy Uso came back to help Roman, and now they had the shot of Roman, Jimmy, and Cody. standing in the ring against The Rock and against the New Bloodline. So I think we're going to add a fourth person in there somehow. Maybe Jay, maybe Sammy. I hope it's Jay. We could potentially get Sammy as well if the New Bloodline brings in The Rock. And I don't think he's really going to be back until maybe closer to Raw debut on Netflix. So yeah, those are my predictions on the Crown Jewel 2024 match card. Let me know what your thoughts are about it in the comment section down below. What I get right? What did I get wrong? Let's have a conversation. I'd love to chop it up in the comments with you. Also, don't forget to like this video as well. Share it with some friends if you have some other pro wrestling friends too. Make sure that you get everybody into this community, because the bigger this community is, the more we will all thrive together. And most importantly, don't forget to go down and hit that subscribe button and hit the bell icon to make sure you're notified whenever we drop another video. Because like I said, if you enjoy what you saw here, if you want to see me chop it up with a couple other wrestling nerds every week on a podcast, every Monday we have a full 2-hour podcast that drops, the Vacant Wrestling Podcast. So make sure you're subscribed here so you can get it in video format. And if you like audio formats, we're there too. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you find podcasts, we are there. Also, if you prefer short form content, go over to our TikTok page at Vacant Wrestling there. We have tons more short form videos for you. We'll chop up those podcasts into clips. This video is probably going to get chopped up as well. So if you're into that, go give us a follow. We'd really appreciate it. And we're vastly growing there too. So we'd love to keep that momentum going. We're going to revisit this video in a few weeks to see how right or wrong I was. But until then, y'all, thanks so much for watching. We really, really appreciate it. Seriously. And until then, we'll see you all later.